can't. It's a little corny and obvious, but what do you gotta do so, right?
And boom, we are live. Welcome, folks, to the American Movie Podcast. If you've never been here before, welcome aboard. I go through movies, news, documentaries, Netflix series, Netflix originals, and today I'm going through Netflix's newest documentary, Screwball. Okay, so Screwball is a true documentary directed by the guy who directed Cocaine Cowboys, Billy Corben, and it is centered upon Biogenesis, which was the company that helped Manny Ramirez and A-Rod hit all those home runs. So this is a true story. It's the craziest true story I've heard in a very long time. It's centered upon Tony Bosch, B-O-S-C-H, I think, and he's a certified doctor from Belize, but he goes to Miami, and he's living there, and he has cocaine habits, he has alcohol habits, he has drinking problems and stuff like that, and he would spend exorbitant amount of money drinking and doing all these drugs. And he was at the bar one day, and he overheard these bartenders talking about steroids, and he helped these people take their steroids more efficiently. And he then he acquired a lot of clients that way, and then he started working with Manny Ramirez, and then Manny gets caught. And then the cousin of A-Rod reaches out to Tony, and he is like, hey, whatever you had Manny on, I want in. So he's helping A-Rod with all of his home runs, and he's getting paid for exclusivity and all this stuff. And then this guy who wants to take on the marketing for this Biogenesis wants in, and he's like, okay, I'll donate you, or I'll invest $4,000, and I'll help you get this company rolling. Like, it helped me a lot, so I'm going to help the company. And then he gets double crossed, and he wants his $4,000 back. And so he steals the files with over 300 athletes. Those are high school athletes, college athletes, professional athletes. Some including like A-Rod, Ryan Braun, a couple other baseball players that are like more renowned, and then performers even. And it was a crazy list. And so he tanks this company, debuts all of this cheating over $4,000. And it's one of the craziest stories I've ever heard. And I forgot to mention that it's all reenacted by children. So they do every scene reenactment with kids. It is so funny. It's one of the funniest shows I'd seen in a long time. It reminds me of Drunk History, but the scenic renditions are from kids, and it was so funny, man. And it's an hour and 45 minutes long, and it is just, it's one of the Miami is crazy. I am blown away at Miami, or Florida in general is just crazy, but there was just so much fake doctors in there. So they're creating, there was one dude who injected stuff that you filled up tires with into ladies' hips so the hips would be bigger. You're like, what is going on in Florida? Why is no one stopping this? And then you're like, oh, the guy in charge of Florida he was culpable for fraud, and it was medical fraud. And then this dude, and it was just like this crazy, it's just this crazy place that goes under like no jurisdiction in the United States, I guess. And it was one of the funniest. It was so funny, man. And you just get to see all of these kids like in nightclubs and like holding guns, and like it's so funny. Like they do like and they have like bodysuits on these kids to show like how big they are, because everybody's taking steroids in Miami and stuff. And it's one of the craziest true stories I've seen. And I was blown away at it. And A-Rod was the centerpiece of it. And he ended up getting 162 games, I believe, suspension, and he got to marry J-Lo, and he's on Shark Tank. And it just goes to show that, I mean, if you cheat, you get caught, you still probably you're doing okay. And they didn't take down his name from one of the stadiums in Miami. I think it's the University of Miami. It's called A-Rod Stadium, or Alex Rodriguez Stadium. Didn't take that down. Didn't do anything. There was very little recourse. He had to pay. I can't remember. It was he's the most paid baseball player ever, and then I think he paid 20 odd some million, something like that. Don't quote me on that. But this guy Tony Bosch, he was spending upwards of like $60,000 a month just going out. His lifestyle, alimony, stuff like that. And this dude is just, he gets an interview by one of the like the local news things, and he has been out partying the entire night, and you're just like, this guy looks horrible, and he doesn't even remember what he's saying, and he's actually inside of the documentary himself as well. And the guy that gave all the files to the police officer or whatever, he just wanted $4,000. That's it. So it's so crazy that A-Rod got and there was this race. So there was this race for the files that this guy has. This guy that wants the 4K has these files, and MLB is chasing this guy. A-Rod's people are chasing this guy, and then his so-called friends are chasing this guy because they're trying to get the files so they can bribe MLB and this. So he's getting chased everywhere, and it's one of the funniest stories in the world. Like, there's just sheer incompetency throughout this entire documentary, and it's one of the funniest shows. So if you like documentaries, you're going to love this. This is like a comedic version of this crazy story performed by children. It's so funny. And I highly recommend it. And if you have seen this, or if you've seen Icarus or something else like that, like that has to deal with sports and performance-enhancing drugs, check this one out if you liked Icarus. If you haven't seen Icarus, check this one out. Then check out Icarus if you like it. They're great. So there's just I'm watching the trailer, and there's just numerous instances where A-Rod's like, I did not do it. And then he's like, okay, I did do it. And then he like, oh, it's just so funny. So check it out. Let me know if you watched it, what you thought of it, on all the social medias. Don't forget to subscribe. A lot of good stuff to come. Thank you so much. This has been Matthew Benjamin with the American Movie Podcast. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
After all, someone has to pay for the lap dances for the big guy.
He's joking around. Feels so good when he jokes.
What's